Welcome to your first exercise program. I'm going to first dive into why it's important for your diabetes and how it can help improve your body's regulation of blood glucose levels. In a nutshell, your body's ability to regulate its blood glucose has been compromised due to your condition. The good news is that physical activity can help reduce the effects of your condition on this system. Physical activity can reverse the defects in the breakdown of fats and glucose, or sugar, as forms of energy sources for your cells to work. This will in turn improve your HbA1c, which you all might know comes up on your blood test, which is the average blood glucose levels for the past 2 to 3 months. Physical activity will also improve your glycemic control for the 24 hours after exercise, in particular for those in ongoing physical activity and conditioning. Now, on top of this, it improves your insulin sensitivity, improves your blood fats or lipids, it lowers your resting heart rate, decreases your blood pressure, decreases your body weight and fatty tissue, and it also decreases your risk of heart disease, which is one of the effects of having diabetes long term. Now, the first and foremost step would be to ensure your blood glucose levels are controlled for the past 3 months before commencing exercise. This will minimize the risk of exercising when hypo or hyperglycemic. It's important to recognize the signs of both. Those that suffer from hypoglycemia or too low blood sugar would experience things like headaches, sweating, hunger, tremors, nervousness, confusion, convulsions, and some loss of consciousness. So it's important to understand that. Prior to exercise, the target blood glucose level is between 6.6 to 10 millimoles, and anything higher than 14 places you at risk of ketoacidosis, where the body starts to use fats as fuel for energy. This releases toxins into your blood, and it can be very detrimental to your health. So if you do have a high blood glucose reading of above 13.9, it's very important that you consult a medical professional before partaking in exercise again, and they'll give you clearance. Now, I'm going to take you through an exercise program that will prevent the progression and manage your diabetes. The first component of exercise I'll be asking you to perform is walking. Walking is a great form of exercise that you can do anytime and anywhere, and it's a form of cardiovascular or aerobic fitness. In a consensus statement in 2016, it was concluded that 150 minutes of aerobic activity per week is important for those who want to manage their diabetes. So we should be aiming to complete 4 to 5 30-minute walking sessions. This will be at a conversation pace that will be strenuous enough to not permit you to sing at the same time. So you're able to talk, but you can't sing. Here's an example of a checklist I would highly recommend you keep track of your walking, and you can bring it to our next exercise session and show me how you're tracking in your progress. So we've got weeks on the side, Monday to Sunday, and you can just write a little note on what you did, or give it a tick that you completed the aerobic activity for the day and how long. Now, resistance training is the second form of physical activity, and this is what I'm going to take you through today. It should be considered to be performed 2 to 3 times a week and not on consecutive days. That way you don't use too much of your energy storage. Balance training should be considered 2 to 3 times per week for older adults to reduce the risk of falls. And today we'll be conducting, as I said, a strength program. There'll be 8 exercises and 2 to 4 sets with 8 to 10 repetitions per set. So we're going to do the exercise 8 to 10 times. We're going to have a 1 to 2 minute rest. We're going to repeat that 2 to 4 times, and I'll take you through that today with the specifics. But today, however, we'll be just covering the technique for each exercise. And then at our next session, we'll be going through each set and each rep and the whole program. Before you do come, it's important to understand what to bring. So your medication, quick absorbing carbohydrates in case you do drop in blood glucose levels. An ID bracelet is very important whenever you are exercising, even with the aerobic activity on your off days. Making sure you have water with you at all times, a blood glucose level monitor, and comfortable shoes and socks. Some other things to consider is that your blood glucose level could continue to drop for 24 hours after exercise. So it's important for you to monitor that. And if you do feel any of the signs or symptoms of low blood sugar levels, then we do need to address that by carbohydrate supplementation.
Hi guys, today we're going to take you through 7 exercises to commence managing and preventing your diabetes. We're going to start with the warm-up. Warm-up might include going for a walk, a little bit of a cycle on a stationary bike, and then some stretches. So some example stretches that we like to do is placing your foot up on a bench, reaching for your toes. We'll hold that for 1 minute each side. Then we'll do a quadricep stretch, making sure you have something to hold on to for balance, or you might need to go near a wall. We'll do 1 minute on each side, on both legs. And then making sure that we feel nice and loose to commence our exercise program. Now the second thing, we want to make sure we're in a safe environment, making sure all the weight we lift is not too heavy, but also not too light. So we're going to start with a moderate, 5 to 6 out of 10 weight, 10 being totally exhaustive or too heavy, and 0 being no weight at all. First exercise, we're going to start with a goblet squat. The goblet squat requires you to have some weight in your hand, a bench behind you for some reassurance and confidence. You're going to hold the weight up to your chest. You're going to have your feet shoulder width apart, and you're going to lower yourself to the bench and back up. Now, what we're thinking about during this exercise is making sure we're nice and strong in our tummy. Not too strong, just a little bit of activation there, so you're feeling the muscles. And then you also want to be putting a lot of your weight through your heel, just so we're activating the right muscles. And we're going to repeat that 10 times, and we're going to do 3 sets. So when completing 10 repetitions of your goblet squats, we're going to move on to a balancing exercise to give you a little bit of a rest from a heavy movement. We're going to put the weight down, and we're going to practice balancing on one leg. So it's going to require you to take the weight onto one leg, lifting one leg up in front of you. Now, for some support, for those that don't feel totally comfortable, you can do this exercise next to a wall, or sometimes for those that are quite decent on one leg, I don't mind a stick that you can have, just in case you need help. You can just lift that stick off the ground. We're going to hold it for as still as possible for 20 to 30 seconds each side. We're going to repeat that 3 times. Now, moving on from balancing, we're going to get into what we call a deadlift. So the deadlift requires you to have a dead weight on the floor, and we'll be picking that up from the ground. The first steps are to have your feet about shoulder width apart, to stand right up close to the object, so the object's between your legs. Now we're going to lower ourselves to the ground to pick up the object, but we're going to initiate the movement by having our hips going backwards. It's as if you're closing a car door with your bottom. So let's give that a go. I might stand side on. So we're going to lower ourselves, and my hips are going back to the object, keeping our arms nice and long and our head up, pushing through our heels. We're going to stand up with the weight, and then we're going to go back down nice and controlled. We're going to repeat that 10 times, and we're going to do 3 sets. Moving on from the deadlifts, we're going to head over and we're going to do what we call a bent over row. A bent over row is for your upper back muscles. So we're going to come over to the bench. We'll have one knee on the bench, one leg out to the side, and hand on the bench. And then we're going to be pulling up the weight from the ground, making sure that we're squeezing our shoulder blade back and then bringing our elbow to our side. Those are the 2 steps that I'd like you to think about. Shoulder blade and elbow to your side. And making sure that we're going nice and controlled. We're going to do 10 repetitions on each side, and we're going to repeat 3 times with 60 seconds rest between each set. The next exercise is an overhead press. It speaks for itself. We're going to be lifting the weight above our head. So first, we're going to find a chair that lifts up to 90 degrees in the gym. We're going to sit on that chair with our feet nice and shoulder width apart and comfortable on the ground. We're going to lean back against the chair, having your chest nice and strong and your torso nice and strong. We're going to lift the weights to your shoulders. Then we're going to press above our heads and descend it nice and slow, nice and controlled. And we're going to push up, and we're going to do 3 sets of 10 repetitions with 60 seconds rest. Now we're going to move on to a push-up. Now those that are quite advanced can do it from the ground, but I'm going to show you the more easier exercise, which will then progress to the ground over time. So we're going to have a bar that starts at about our hip height, and we're going to be holding our hands to the bar and gripping the bar about shoulder width apart. We're going to have our body nice and straight, and we're going to be slightly onto our toes. We're going to lower ourselves slowly to the bar and back up. Now the elbows need to be 45 degrees from the body on the way down and up, not up here at 90 or not riding close to the body, just a nice distance, and driving through those shoulder blades. On the way down, we're making sure that we're activating our shoulder muscles by bringing our shoulder blades down as we do the movement. We're going to repeat that 10 times, and we're going to do 3 sets. Guys, is a lat pull down. We're going to set up the machine for our height, so our knees need to go under here. We're going to put a decent amount of weight on there, not too hard, not too light. We're going to have a seat on the machine with our knees underneath the padding. We're going to grip the bar. Now the first, before we initiate the movement of pulling I'm going to ask you to lower your shoulder blades, squeeze the muscles on the sides of your torso, and then we're going to pull the weight to our chin. And then on the way up, I want you to keep squeezing your back together as you raise your arms. And then at the end of the movement, I'd love for you to let go of that shoulder blade squeeze. And we're going to repeat that 10 times. And we're going to do 3 sets.